Hey guys, Andrew Dobie here, and welcome to Just a Chat With. In our previous episode, I spoke to the lovely James Cross, who is the creative director at BBC Creative. BBC Creative is the BBC's in-house creative agency, which was launched back in 2016, shortly after James and his creative partner Tim launched the Manchester office, where they handle campaigns for the likes of BBC One, BBC Sport, CBBC, Children in Need, Sport Relief, and loads more. James has worked across various award-winning campaigns such as Tokyo 2020, the FIFA 2018 World Cup, and the We Know Our Place campaign celebrating women in sport. He's also worked with numerous brands such as Wicked, Domino's, and Harley Davidson. Before now, though, on the podcast, we've had people such as co-founder and director of Deadfellas, Betty NFT. We've had Nduku Noha, this highly celebrated poet, creative director, and recording spoken word artist. And also the founder of Great Influence, Ash Jones. In this episode today, though, I sit down with Craig Black, who's an amazing visual artist from Scotland, who has created a whole new technique in visual art called Acrylic Fusion. His unique and versatile style has led him to work with brands such as UEFA, Wisdom Audio, Pepsi, Ribble Cycles, and even our very own brand, Made Brave. Craig's work has been displayed in from New York to Dubai and also Sydney. He spends his time travelling around the world sharing his inspirational story at various creative conferences. He's also talked about his journey today from designer to typographer to visual artist. And he's spoken about lots of his favourite projects, how he's won those projects and how he works on them and how long they take. And also how he's building a lifestyle business with his daughter and wife. We had an amazing time. Craig's a really inspirational guy, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Great. Welcome to this episode, Craig. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, it's good to finally get you on. I think for anyone watching, we're probably going to need double subtitles for two Scottish accents.
Big time. Uh-huh. I still get that bad now. Still get that bad. Even when I'm at conferences, I try to slow down, speak slowly. And then afterwards, people go, "Oh, I love your talk, but you're still speaking so fast. I still couldn't get it." And I'm like, I try my best.
It's definitely a Scottish thing, isn't it? We can roll every single word together and just need to learn to slow them down and overpronunciate. Yes. Great. Well, how are things? You're in your studio.
Yes.
Do you want to let everyone know where you are?
Yeah. So I am in my studio now, which is a place called Greenock in Scotland. So Greenock's about 40-minute drive from Glasgow. Beautiful little coastal town. I'm actually, to be honest, I grew up 30 seconds away from here. Literally, my mum still stays there. So I've came full circle, and I love it here. But things have been great. Been really busy, travelling a lot, which is good. I was in Belgium the other week, which was nice, and then in London, and then back home to temperamental weather Scotland. 1 minute it's sunny, 1 minute it's raining. Is it the same where you are, Andrew?
It's pretty grim. Yeah, this is the height of summer in Scotland, isn't it?
I know. Peak. I've got a hoodie on. I should be in shorts and t-shirt.
And you were mentioning just before we came on camera, you've been up a bit of an early start today.
Yes. My daughter Olivia, so she's almost 2, and she got up very early this morning. She got up about 5 a.m. and she kept shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" And I was like, "Please, just give me an extra hour." But no. I had to get up, and we've been non-stop. So I've literally had a full day daddy daycare time, which is amazing, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, before this call, I was like nodding dog for a minute, but I'm all good.
And how are you sort of balancing out the family time with the work commitments, the traveling, and sort of scheduling? Do you tend to work in the afternoon? Do you have a sort of set schedule now, or?
Do you know what? No. The balance is I don't know if I want to call it a balance, because it's actually a lifestyle that I've created, and me as a family. So my wife Ali has joined the business as business manager. She's officially the boss now. She's got the tag. So we're doing this as a family to create a lifestyle for us, especially around Olivia. So for instance, like this morning, like I just took time off to spend with my little girl because I've been away the past week, and I think that's hugely important. So there's no like certain criteria, like I'm in the studio by 10 o'clock or whatever. I need to be flexible, and that's the biggest thing for having a little girl. And with Ali coming on board, it's been massive, and she's been a game changer, to be honest. So yeah, it is a flexible system, especially with traveling, because the biggest thing we want to do as a family is, if I'm going away for work, then my wife Ali and my daughter Olivia come with me, and they have been, which is fantastic. We've already been to America and across Europe already, and Olivia's been on more holidays than I was when at that age. I don't even think I think my first holiday was like 5 or something. So, see,
I think I went abroad when I was 16.
Probably, yeah. So it's great. It is great. But working in personal life is always one for us, and it's been amazing. It's a great journey that we've been on so far.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic if you can make it happen. I trying to try and do the same with my son as well, and try and sort of build our family routine about, you know, all the experiences we can now have by doing this stuff. And actually, he had a TikTok video blow up this weekend, right?
Really?
He got like 700,000 views on a TikTok, and he's now remember that. My son's a 10-year-old boy. Imagine what that must feel like at 10 years old to have 700,000 views. So this whole weekend, I said, right, we're going to make you completely TikTok famous, and it's going to create so many opportunities for you. So we were like trying to hack TikTok and make all these videos. But I think if you can build your family into these things, it's way more exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, I love that from the wee man. That's amazing to hear. And Olivia is already and this is obviously my studio. She's got a mini studio along the studio here. She's got a mini table. She's got her own paints and paper. Every time she comes in here, she steals my brushes, all my paints, all the good stuff, because that's what she needs. But also she helps me mix paint and stuff like that. Don't get wrong, goes everywhere like usually does. But even when we're doing like live shows and stuff, recently we were in Nashville, Tennessee. I was out doing an art residency, and the client was so welcoming to us as a family. So Ali and Olivia were there every single day, and Olivia would come into the studio, help painting, and she would put her hands on stuff. But that's part of the artwork for me. Do you know what I mean? That's part of the experience. So we were doing a big thing that I've been doing over the past 2 years is like live art performances. So basically bringing my artwork to life in front of an audience. And what was quite special about this one was we had this public viewing, and it was like kids from 5, 6 and older to older adults and stuff like that as well, and they were watching me paint. But my wife and my daughter were running late, so it was meant to start at 2, and the head of the gallery says we're not starting until Ali and Olivia turn up. So I had to make an announcement in front of 250 people saying, can you wait 5 minutes before my wife and daughter come? And next minute the door opens up and Olivia comes charging through shouting, daddy, 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 paint, paint, paint. And she came in and she literally jumped into my arms, and there was 250 people. It was so emotional as well. And I actually started painting with her in my arms as well. So it was really special, and how people can connect with that and the work as well. So it took everything to a whole new level. So again, that's where I start, where it's the earlier conversation, where it becomes work and business and personal life. It is rolled as one as us, for us as a family.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and that'll be lovely for her to look back on in years, because you'll have all that documented. There'll be people taking pictures and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I've loved watching your journey. You know, a lot of people listening just now won't have come across you yet, and obviously you're on here for that reason. And you know, I think it's been a really inspiring journey that you've been on. You've kind of gone from designer to visual artist to now you're doing these live installations and these live exhibitions. Do you mind talking through a little bit about that journey for those that haven't come across you? That meeting Craig Black for the first time. Just take us on that bit of that journey, and you know what it's felt like for you.
Okay, story time. So I I started off as a graphic designer back in 2013. I fell in love with typography and lettering, and I moved to the bright lights of London. So I graduated in Glasgow, went to London right away. Got drawn into the hustle and bustle down there, the excitement. Worked with 2 agencies to learn about the trade, learning from experienced pros and all those kind of things. But in the background, I had this burning desire to start up my own studio, specialising in typography and lettering. So every evening, every weekend, I was practicing on my craft of type and lettering. And then after 2.5 years of agency life, my kind of would you say, studio work, my kind of freelance work was starting to pick up a little bit more. I was got project after project in terms of type and lettering, and then I thought, right, I'm going to go for this and start my own studio, and had absolutely no idea what I was doing. But I leaned on loads of people over the years, yourself included, who've given me some invaluable advice, and I went gun ho in setting up my studio, and I lasted somehow for 5 or 6 years, and I was quite a specialist in the field of type, and I was working on brand marks, typefaces, and for some of the biggest brands across the world, which is amazing. Took me all over the world, which is incredible. And what changed that transition to a visual artist was one specific project and an actual dream project. And hopefully there's a few football fans here, but Rangers Football Club was my dream club growing up. Like I dreamed about playing football and playing for them, but unfortunately wasn't good enough to play for them, the Teddy Bears. But I got the fortunate opportunity to create the typeface for Rangers, which was a dream come true, because when I was younger, I obviously used to go to Ibrox, which is the stadium where Rangers play, and seeing the type on the back of the strips, I always thought, who created that? Who's the man behind that? And all my idols were wearing this, and I thought one day I would love to figure that out. And then it turns out it was typography. I got this project, and I had to be quiet for about a year and a half doing this, which was very, very hard because it was a dream.
How did you get it? For those listening, because there'll be some people listening and they'll think, how do I get something as amazing as that? How does that?
No, I totally get it. So it actually came through an agency called Seesaw Creative, who are based in Kilmarnock area. So they actually seen me on LinkedIn, which is a huge platform for me, which we can speak about later on. They've seen that I specialise in the type, and they reached out to me. At first, they didn't say who the team was, saying, listen, we've got this project. It's creating a typeface for a football club. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, let's have a conversation. And that's quite funny, actually. So they invited me to the studio, and I don't know anyone beforehand. I walk into this meeting room, and there's a TV screen, and it says Rangers Football Club. And my automatic reaction is, fuck off. And apologies for swearing, but I was just an instant reaction.
It's a swear-friendly podcast.
That's good to hear then. So everyone turns around and goes, are you a Rangers fan? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. So it broke the ice. It made everything so much better. So I was in still shock when the thought of creating this typeface. And then from that, I worked hand in hand with Seesaw, creating this typeface, as well as they created the brand evolution for Rangers Football Club. And then I remember I honestly put my heart and soul in this project, as you can imagine, right? I put a huge amount of pressure on myself because it meant so much to like my family. So my dad and my brother are massive Rangers fans, all my friends, everybody. So you imagine the pressure of having to deliver something on such a high magnitude. But I delivered it, and I remember even in my first presentation, I went into the boardroom in Ibrox, which I was like, looking about, and but I loved being there. And it came to my part in the presentation talking about the typeface. And to be honest, Andrew, I only done one concept because I knew exactly what I had to do. I was intrinsic with the brand, and it was as if, in a very, very cheesy way, it was like destiny for me to do this. It really was. It was like the simple things going into the curvature of a letter form, why it represented to the architecture of the stadium, the gates, like the huge amount of detail I went into. And I even said to the board, like, listen, I've not done any other concept. This is it. This is the typeface for you guys. And then the other Seesaw kind of came in and they done their part to the presentation. And right afterwards, the Rangers board and the marketing team says, listen, before we continue, Craig has absolutely nailed this. This is exactly what this is embodies the club. This is exactly what we need. This is it.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there in that moment, and they actually signed it off in that meeting as well, which is insane. You never get that. Usually it's like you do a presentation, you walk away, you hear back a week later or so, or amendments, but literally they signed it off there and then.
But so you I can see why they signed it off, because you've made it easy for them to sign off, because you've come in with passion, you've come in with a story and a narrative that goes along with the design. And that, I think I sometimes see designers and they can't understand why they have to iterate and iterate. It's because they didn't sell in a vision along with it. And you've sold it to me. So I'm like, I only want one concept.
I'll take it. Yeah. I don't know. You're 100% right. And I think that's a huge part of that is my personality as well. Like everything that I do, I am hugely passionate about and enthusiastic about, and I give my all to it. So when that happened and they signed it off, like there was that kind of child in me just kind of went, yes. I celebrated in the meeting room and everyone just started laughing. I know. I was like, oh, kid, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? But that project was special, right? And then the pandemic happened, and then for 2 years I couldn't get to see any of the work because the typeface is used in every touch point everywhere. So we were dying to go see it. But at that point of finishing that project, so you can imagine, I gave my all my energy spent, and it was well received by all the fans. It was well received design community, all those kind of things, and I'm hugely grateful for. But it was the end of typography and lettering for me. Like there's nothing going to beat that project for me. Like funny enough, I had Premier League teams and teams from abroad reaching out to me saying, "Can you create our typeface?" And I had no enthusiasm. I had no passion for it because nothing's going to beat that for me. Like when I first started my studio, like I was doing type was like 6 years ago. Like that was a dream. That was it, and I eclipsed it. There's nothing going to be that for me. So I had to evolve as not only as a creative, but also as a person. And what did I want to do next? And at that exact time, like my daughter was born. So we have a 2-bedroom apartment, and the spare bedroom was my kind of studio at that time. So Olivia was born. She goes in that room. I had to find a new space. I found this studio, and it was a perfect kind of. It was as if the stars were aligned. So Rangers was finished. Olivia was born. Had to find a new studio, and what I'm doing now in terms of painting acrylic fusion and being a visual artist is what I've always wanted to do as a kid. Like always wanted to do was throw paint about and build things by hand. And I knew really realistically coming out of college and graduation, I couldn't say I'm an artist and come to hire me to do all these things. I had to build a brand. I had to build a profile. People to connect with me. And that was hugely important for me. And that's something I've learned from you over the years as well. And when I made that transition from a designer into a visual artist, people came with me in that journey, and they understood that journey because they understood how much Rangers meant to me, but they also understand this new part. So now transitioning into a visual artist, like everything's changed. I mean, the whole game field's changed for me, and it's as a new field. And coming into this new journey as a visual artist, I had like 0 clients in this game, 0.
And what's a visual artist? Because some people will be listening and say, "What does that term mean?"
Basically, a visual artist is basically like creation of artworks. Round my shoulder, you can see all these footballs and stuff. It's a visual representation of artwork kind of thing, in its physical form for me personally. Rather than like a musician or anything like that. Visual artwork I'm building on. I create things on wood, metal, all sorts of things. But yeah, so while I was having that design studio and journey, that 6 years, about 3 years ago, I was starting to practice acrylic fusion in the background. Like very subtly, I was like building in my craft and stuff. No one really knew. I was in the background doing this because I was projecting where I was going to go in this career, and this is something that I definitely want to go down as a visual artist. So when that time came to that jump into being a visual artist, I already had 3 years of practice. So it's like getting back a few steps when I was in the agency world. For 2.5 years, I was practicing typography and lettering before anyone even knew who I was. So when I made that transition, he's like, "Oh, he's good at that. He's good at that because I've put in the hard work and the yards behind the scenes."
Yeah, it's almost like you're always, and I've always thought this as well, is that you need, people will catch up. They see something being successful, they try and mimic it, but you're already 3 years ahead because you've been doing that and you're now on to your next transition. So they're copying and delay all the time, and that's what it feels like.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that because I am constantly evolving my practice, my technique, every single project that I'm going along. And even the discussions that I'm having now on a project that may happen in a year's time, it's bonkers. I mean, insane, massive scale stuff, immersive experiences, like stuff that is blowing my mind. And I'm like that kid again going, I can't wait, I want to do it now, let's do it. And but it's been stepping stones in a sense, and it's seen that progression, and I'm constantly, like I said, evolving as a person, but also as a creative and challenge. A big thing that I do is I constantly challenge myself. Like is this what I want to do? And people always talk about procrastination, right? I cut procrastination out. Like, as soon as I even get the thought of it, I go, fuck that, I'm moving on. I'm doing it. Whatever needs to be done, whether it's the smallest task to the biggest task or the hardest task, whatever you want to do. And that has been a game changer for me, even the past few years, especially having Olivia and being a dad, because she's number one. She's my number one job, to being a dad for her. And so when I'm in the studio, I'm like, right, I've got 4 hours to execute here. Like, what do I need to do, get done? And you've got those many jobs. You go, oh, I can't be bothered. But I'm like, it needs to be done. Get it done, Craig. And I'll smash it, tick, 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 and moving on. And then when I go home, it's like I'm done with the art stuff. I'm back to dad, and that's what I want, and that's purposely why like everything is evolving for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's lovely to hear as well. And it's just nice to, I think it's important, I talk about it quite a lot. You need to have that separation for family as well as, for time and downtime away from it, especially as a creative as well. Your brain needs rest so you're good when you are creative. Now, I'm going to jump back to your Acrylic Fusion because I'm sitting just now, I'm looking at pictures of it in the background. I know exactly what it is. Some people are listening to this podcast and some people haven't come across you yet. So can you describe Acrylic Fusion and how you came about that technique and what it is?
Right, okay. There's a funny story that goes with that. But Acrylic Fusion is essentially acrylic paints mixed together to create interesting and mesmerising effects and patterns on any kind of surfaces and products. So I can pour Acrylic Fusion on footballs, which was a catalyst for my career, wood, metal, any kind of product I've had my hands on, really. Like I test it on everything. Football boots, you can just see in the corner here, skateboards, all sorts of things now. And how it actually came about was through my wife. So Ali came home one day with these gym leggings on, and there was like crazy patterns on them, obviously very similar to Acrylic Fusion. And I'm like, they're wicked. Like, they're an amazing pair of gym leggings. And she's just staring at me going, what you get? And my head's already spinning, going, how does someone make that pattern? How is that kind of working and stuff like that? So I ended up on YouTube, right? Just typing in paint mixing, paint pouring, and you know how you go in that downward spiral of YouTube and you lead you to a video, to a video, to a video. So let me into this world of paint pouring. And I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to try this out. So the day later, I got a canvas. I actually created an installation. It was called London Calling. It's actually still on my website. It's one of my favourites, and it's the very first Acrylic Fusion, and it's been sold, which is quite nice. But I did this in the spare bedroom, and I was like, right, okay. I had an old iPhone over my shoulder, filming me doing the process, kind of thing, because I wanted to show people how I'm creating this as well, even though it's a first time experiment. Throwing this paint on it, grabbing the sides, pouring it about, shaking it, and it created this amazing installation of this pattern form. And I thought, this is amazing, this is dynamite. And I was hooked from there. And then from that was about nearly 4 or 5 years ago now. And ever since, I've been just building that process, involving my technique. Every single project I'm doing right now, every single thing, I'm finessing it. There's a little bit more. I've got a recipe, but every time you can change it, you can kind of evolve it ever so slightly, and you start to figure about how big can you go, what's the scale, what's the technique I'm trying to get across. Because when I use Acrylic Fusion, which is a paint pouring technique, it works differently on different objects. So for instance, you see the footballs on my shoulder here, you pour from the top of the ball, and then gravity takes hold and wraps around, and then because of gravity in the paint, it creates its own organic kind of form, which is beautiful, and it's spectacular. And then you've got over here on the wall here, which is basically a flat piece of wood. So I would pour paint onto the wood, grab the sides of the wood, and literally move it about. But then after that, because gravity can't push it kind of sideways, so I need to go in and manipulate it that way. So I maybe add in more paint, I use my breath, or use hairdryer, or whatever I need to use to create more blends to it and stuff like that. But the connecting factor about all of these forms is Acrylic Fusion, and you see it now and go, oh, that's a Craig Black, that's a Craig Black. And that connection is quite special. And and it's why brands are reaching out to me now, and even art galleries as well, and art collectors, and who want a piece of the action. But one
So
thing to
are
note,
you niching directly on that specialism then in terms of the acrylic fusion? Is that now going to be your sole style for this
I
period of
think
time?
I think so, yeah. In terms of acrylic fusion, yeah, but with acrylic fusion technique itself, like it's so versatile. So
Hmm.
whether I use a football or a shoe or a flat piece of wood or a large building that can be transformed digitally, like there's so many pockets of it, but
Yeah, yeah,
it all ties back to acrylic fusion, to the physical form, to me, to my part to it. So
yeah,
I don't see it being such a niche thing, just doing me doing football. I see it
yeah,
getting there's such breadth to it,
yeah,
which is quite fascinating. And what is I find quite an interesting kind of conversation that you have with clients is they'll see something like me pouring on a shoe, and a client
mm-hmm.
actually come up to me and says, like, to work for a speaker company, and thought, how cool would
Mm-hmm.
that be on a set of speakers? And I thought, I think it'd be pretty cool as well. Let's try it out, and that's what
Yeah,
happened. And then we formed, and ended up creating a set of speakers for Wisdom Audio, which were unreal. They became an
yeah,
iconic speaker system. And by doing all these things, every single paint pour that I do is truly unique. Like I
yeah.
could use the same colors, same object, but I could never replicate the same pattern. And I think that's become such a unique selling point for me as well,
Mm-hmm.
because people are buying into that, and that is like no one else in the world is going to have this,
Yeah,
and I
yeah. Well,
think that's like a special thing.
I think I've got an observation that's just, I think, so clever that you've nailed that, I'd love for anyone listening to see where the magic in Craig Black is that you were, first of all, a designer, right? And design
Hmm.
is so broad that it's very hard to get recognized as a designer if you're broad and you do everything.
Hmm.
But you very quickly figured out, I'm going to focus that on type, right? So you figured
Hmm.
out a real niche, and then they knew what they could come to you for. They wanted that type. So then you
Hmm.
moved into your visual art, and you could have gone into physical activations, doing all sorts of different stuff, but you kept it very, very niche. So it
Hmm.
makes it very easy to buy from Craig Black, because
Yeah.
paired with the niche that you're selling, you've got a great story, you've got a great
Hmm.
enthusiasm. And when brands are
Hmm.
thinking about who they're buying or who they want to collaborate with, well,
Hmm.
they need an easy purchase. They need something
Yeah.
easy that they know what they're buying, and they want enthusiasm, and they want a lovely and a great story to go along with it. So you're
Yeah.
kind of hitting all of those markers for something. So I think,
Hmm.
well done, congratulations. I think it's really nice to see, and it's nice to see the involvement of how you've got there
Hmm.
as well.
I truly appreciate it, Andrew, and it does mean a lot, because it has been a journey, and you learn a lot as you go along, and you're looking for other people like yourself and other people who've kind of niched down and wider, and you go down, and I think it's important to go through that process as well. And I think one thing that for me is, like, I absolutely love what I do, and that is the
Mhm.
fundamental. Like, you can niche down on something, but if you don't love it, you're not going to
Yeah,
get the full kind of connection with people. Do you know what I mean? That's why people, like you're saying, like, this is why brands want to connect with me, because my heart and soul goes into this. Like, you see, like, I
absolutely.
walk in, I've got a big smile on my face, and it's genuine, because I'm like, I'm painting here, I'm creating artwork for people. And what is also part of this kind of special thing now is, like, brands are seeing an association with Craig Black, the brand. So it's
Mhm.
brand X Craig Black, and that's such a lucrative thing to have, and it's something that
Mhm.
I've been striving for a long time, and
Mhm.
it because I think it does bring in that niche, but it also brings in more of who I am as a person as well, and that story, like, we're speaking about just
Absolutely.
now, and who I am, and I'm hugely proud of, like, who I am, and I want to
Mhm.
share that with the world, because I feel like I come from a working class background, and to be pursuing my dreams, and get a bit emotional with this and that. For pursuing my dreams, and I've grinded, and it has been tough, and I've worked my balls off to get here,
Mhm.
and to be able to inspire others is a big part of what I do. It really
Yeah.
is. Like, it is, and especially from the younger generation come through, and even the older generation who see what I'm doing. Like, to be able to combine a great passion of mine,
Mhm.
combine it with my family, working with brands across the world and touring the world is a dream. It really is. But I've had a vision of this 7 years ago, right? I'll go a bit deeper for you. So about 7 years ago, I was in London. I started my studio in London, actually. I was in this little cabin studio in North London,
Mhm.
which was actually my bedroom as well. it was weird. So I was in there 24 hours a day, and it was hugely tough starting a business. You know what it's like, Andrew. Like right at the very beginning, it was so tough, and I had nothing. I had turned money, like I had pennies,
I
right? And
hear
I was
you.
eating, I was on the old noodles and trying to get by, a bit of toast for my dinner and stuff. Like, it was that bad. But one thing I kept going through is visualization, right? Visualization has been a big part for me. It's basically kind of mental imagery of where you see yourself being in the future, right? So back then, when I was so far away from it, I didn't even meet my wife Ali yet. But all I dreamed about was having a wife, having a family, and a daughter and Olivia, going back home to my actual home's in Gurok, which is right beside Greenock. Going
Yeah.
back home, setting up a studio and being a visual artist and touring the world and doing it as a family. Like, I thought about that for every single day for 7 years. And then
Yeah.
everything started, and it has all came to life. It really
Yeah.
has. And all the projects that are coming through right now, like Rangers and stuff, like I visualized that way before it happened. And it's a hugely powerful tool, which I think gets totally underestimated. And I think people should start to look into it. There's people who are listening to this right now. Like, if you Google it, there's much more people who can explain it better than me, and there's tools to using it. But it's such a powerful tool. And even like uh, kind of powerful quotes and stuff like that as well. Like, I say them out loud. Like, I have a gratitude thing that I say every morning, that I'm grateful for my life, family, kids, everything that I'm doing, all the opportunities. Because I'm genuinely grateful for everything I have. Even another thing, like, I know I'm side tangent here, but
Yeah, that's perfect.
so
Yeah.
a big thing is like LinkedIn, right? And I think a lot of people is like who connect with me on LinkedIn. Like, I've devoted a lot of time to LinkedIn over the years, and I've built connection with people who have never actually met, but they've become friends online. And then when we do meet, it's as if we've known each other for years. But when I put a post up, right, whether it's work, any kind of beautiful kind of content that I've created, and the comments that I get from that, and even the likes, I am genuinely grateful for every single comment on that. Like, it means the world to me, because that person has took, even if it's 5 seconds or 10 seconds or a minute, 5 minutes, to take time to sit and write a message or even like that piece of content I've done, and I'll make sure that I devote time to that person as well to say thank you. Like, that means so much to me.
It's so
And
important, isn't it? Like,
it
it's amazing when you say it
is,
like that. That there's because you can see these comments and you can glide by them, or you can go, actually, a human being stopped
yeah,
and took the. It's a nice way of putting
yeah.
it. Yeah.
It is so important, and I think again that people don't understand that, because at the end of the day, it's communicating with another human being. Yes, it's a digital platform, but if someone is in the street or you're standing in a room with someone and they say, "Oh, your work's nice," and I'll be like, "You're not going to know them, are you?" So it's the exact same process,
Exactly.
and but
Yeah.
because of that, like, I've had people who would thank me for even replying, but I even go a step further and send them a message privately and say, "Listen, that comment means the world to me." It does, and it really genuinely does. Like, very recently, we made like, obviously I mentioned before, my wife Alice joined the business, and we made a public announcement of it on LinkedIn, and it blew up. Like, it literally blew up, and it was like, I can't even remember how many comments, and I was like, that's going to take me like a full day to get back to them. But I thought, great, and even Ali was like, we're doing this, and there's so much positivity and enthusiasm from people to congratulate me in doing this, because it is a dream come true for us. Like, we've been working towards, like, for Ali to join the business has literally been like 6-7 years in the making. Like, it's not been easy to do that, and we've finally came to this point, like, to make that happen. And and that is a dream for me. That's such a dream. It's not like I've done Rangers and there's other big dream projects, but
Yeah.
the dream is creating a lifestyle and working with a family and being able to do this as a family. Like, what would kill me? I know I'm side tangent again. Bear with me here, right? But spending time in an agency, right? And I remember this is years ago, and I would see dads, right, who would get a phone call from the nursery or whatever saying like their son or daughter's ill, and at that time they wouldn't be able to leave to go see their daughters because of presentations or their boss or whatever. And that struck me, and I thought, I'm never, ever going to let myself be in that position. And I think partly it's maybe because the time and the agency I was in at the time or whatever, but it really resonated with me. And I wanted to make sure that I create an opportunity that works for me and I that we're not tied to someone else letting me go to see my little girl,
exactly.
or take my little girl to school, and all those kind of things like that. That's the dream for me, and I know it's very, very cheesy, but it's true, and
Yeah,
that's why I've been working way hard, way beyond before she was even born to create this. Like
yeah,
it's so far fetched in the future, but it's core to who I am as a person, and I had to make these fundamental building blocks to make it in place. So even like this morning, I was saying, like I took the morning off, like
hmm
to spend time with my little girl and not having to worry about
yeah,
invoices and all chasing all that stuff, because I've done the hard graft for the past few years to allow
hmm
things to tick over. And I think that's important to say that. But don't get wrong, there's still plenty of hard work to do in the future, and there's so much more bigger and exciting projects. But to do it, I keep saying this, doing it as a family is just so, so special.
yeah. No, it's really, it comes through, and big congratulations to you both, because it's
Appreciate
teamwork
it.
that makes it happen. It's as much
Exactly.
both working with each other behind
Yeah.
the scenes as well. So no, it's nice to see it to come to fruition. And I think it's great what you're saying with LinkedIn as well. I'm a big advocate of it. It's such a powerful
Hmm.
platform, and I think
Yeah.
also what's given you your success, from an outsider's point of view, is that I've met a lot of creative people in my journey. I've met a lot of creative people on my podcast, etc. as well. And, I think you've identified that you're also a brand, and you've got to look
Hmm.
after your own business, and, that
Hmm.
great black mark, that great black
Hmm.
equity, and you're clearly, you're putting as much effort into building your story, coming out and sharing and
Hmm.
giving everything away. I'm a big believer in, once you
Hmm.
learn stuff, give it away tenfold. It comes back.
Yeah.
It comes back so much for you. And,
Yeah.
you're doing it, you're going off and telling your story, and I
Hmm.
think it really resonates with people, and then they're part
Hmm.
of that journey, so they want to be a part of it as well. So
Yeah.
I'm just what's next then, Craig? Because you've done loads, you've only had 7 years, and you're still young, right? You're still young, you've got
Yeah.
loads ahead
Yeah.
of you. So what's coming next?
It's in terms of the art career is very, very early stages. I've only technically ran the studio for 2 years in the art world, and it's been insane of what I've achieved so far in 2 years. Like I've worked with something like UEFA, the Premier League, which is just insane levels of being a massive football fan and combining my art with that is just incredible. So I have a goal of going to the World Cup, and
Hmm.
I've had discussions that may allow me to go to the World Cup this year, which is mind blowing. Mind blowing. I
Amazing.
mean, like I wish Scotland qualified though. If Scotland were going out and qualifying, I can go out and celebrate with the Scottish team. But I may have to fly the flag as the solo Scotsman
I
out
think
there.
so.
But I'm hoping there's a few discussions happening for that, and basically I'd be live painting footballs at Qatar, which would be insane.
Wow.
I've also I'm going to say this out loud because I believe in stuff. Like I'm going to work on an aeroplane one day. That's one of the ones I want to
Hmm.
work on. Create artwork on the fin of an aeroplane, or even the whole plane. Imagine the whole plane in acrylic fusion. That'd be insane. But I'm having all these discussions just now with some of the biggest brands in the world, and they want to collaborate with me, which I'm hugely grateful for. And they're about a year in the making. I
Yeah.
can't obviously say who they are yet, but they're quite special. But one thing that's part of all that is what you get with me is not just like a piece of nice artwork as well. Like I think in terms of content point of view, you get the process as well. That's a big part of the
Hmm.
marketing campaigns, working with brands as
Absolutely.
well, bringing the viewer into my world, how things are created as well. Because I think when you can see, if you were just to look at one of my footballs right away, you could really think, oh, it's digitally printed or it's CGI or whatever. And then you realize, like, oh, that's actually painted on. And that's such a unique
Hmm.
concept. So, but because I've created the process of that and bringing that viewer into it, that has now
Hmm.
formed into a live performance art thing, which is blown up for me as well. So now I'm working with these brands, and there's certain touch points as well. So you get an artwork, you get the marketing campaign, which is the video content,
Hmm.
imagery as well, and then you get the launch. And let's do a live performance art show, but let's think of like a music gig. You know how when they've got the big smoke
Yeah.
machines and it's like the bass and the music and stuff. Like let's do that, but with art as well, with me doing it, and we can make it theatrical. Can we work with like an orchestra to play at the same time as me doing my artwork and stuff? Like these are the
Yeah.
conversations that are happening, which are mind-boggling. But I think at this time, in terms of the live performance stuff, it's been actually critical because we've been locked away for 2 years because of the pandemic, and I've kind
Hmm.
of come out and gone. I'm doing this. Like, come see it for your life, for in real life, kind of thing. And people are absolutely loving it. Like, anyone who is listening to this, and I hope one day you can come to one of my shows. And I'm fortunately going to be traveling the world soon, and don't know if it's going to be an actual tour. Like, I sound like a musician. I'm not going to do a tour yet, but it could happen.
Why not? Why not?
I know it could happen. Actually, you know what? It's going to happen. Let's make it happen. And but coming and seeing these artworks being brought to life in front of you is a whole different level, and the joy in people's faces is something special. Like, there was one recently, like, I had this young kid, and this is the other thing, actually, like, don't underestimate the impact that you can have in someone else's life, right? This is really important to me, because it happened very recently when I was in Nashville again. So I was about to do this live paint show, which is installation, sorry, which is like a circular kind of sphere thing on top of a plinth, and I basically pour paint on top and it makes this pattern. But prior to that, I had to mix the paints and stuff, and there was like a barrier, and there was this little girl. She was about 6 or 7 ish, kind of thing, and I was like, "Do you want to mix the paint?" kind of thing, and help me do it. So literally, I gave her the cup of paint, and the smile on her face, she was like, "Oh my god!" And her parents were so happy. Everyone around her was giving a clap. So I basically took the cup off her, and then I did the rest, brought the artwork to life.
Yeah.
So after the show, the mum comes up to me and she says, "Craig, like, I can't get emotional here. Craig, I can't thank you enough for bringing my little girl into your experience, because she's going through a challenging time right now. She was kind of very recluse, and what you did is you gave her a platform to come out of her shell, and she can't stop smiling just now, and all she wants to be is an artist just like you." And then, so I took her contact details, and that was back in March, and she's been giving me updates to this little girl, and she is so happy. She's like thriving now. She's in a classroom. She's now like doing more art stuff as well. She's got all these new group of pals and stuff, just because of a simple gest that I did, but bringing that viewer into my world and creating artwork. And then it made me realize how special of what I'm doing, what is quite special about it. So that's why I'm bringing the viewers in. I want people to come in and see what I'm doing, and if there's an opportunity to get your own piece of artwork, because that artwork is now hers. It's not mine. It's hers as well. And I think that's quite special. And what is, brands are realizing this as well. Like, that human factor, that connection is so important. And we can easily get lost in a digital era now. And I'm trying to, like, I want to, for me personally, is that human connection and how people can see this and how it can make them feel. And that's a big part of what I'm doing as well. And again, like, I'm still a kid inside, and I'm still painting away, and it's just such a joy to be able to make that impact on other people's life. And again, when I go to conferences and share my story, my talk and stuff like that, and how the amount of people who come up afterwards who I'm hugely grateful for, say that I can inspire them to go chase their own dreams and stuff like that. Like, I think everyone's got a story, every single person. And I think the thing is you can help inspire someone else to do good. And if you can push that on and you can keep going that forward, it makes a better place. Exactly. And I think that if we continue that, and probably from a Scottish point of view, and you're ashamed, Andrew, like, if first off, you're kind of all like, "Oh no, I don't know if I could do it." It's you're kind of hidden away. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I'm proud of being Scottish. And I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to connect with the world and fly the flag in a sense. And then that connection makes a whole better place and a whole better world.
We've always said it, Craig, every time we've met, we've always said, why in Scotland are you not allowed to tell your story? Why are you not allowed to inspire? And we're going to change it. We're creating the new version.
Exactly. And it's so true. And I honestly can't wait for the next person to come through and start sharing their story. And I'm like, oh shit, like it sounds about cheesy, right? And I got asked this recently, like, who inspires you, right? And for me, who inspires me is Scottish people doing well and thriving in their industry, right? Football terminology, we've got the 2 best left backs in the world, and Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney, right? I love the fact that they're thriving in their clubs in the international scene, right? Martin Compston, who's from my hometown, is an actor who's thriving, who's doing extremely well. But even if you talk about like Marvel, right? And I forgot their names. I'm looking stupid here. But the recent one with Eternals, the guy who played the bodyguard, what's his name? Richard Madden. Is that his name? Richard Madden?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, so, right. Someone's got to comment on this. I'm sure it's Richard Madden, but he's like thriving now. He's like a big actor for Avengers, Eternals and stuff, and in the Marvel scene. And I love it. Seeing like people going to that level in a global scene, that pushes me. I'm like, I'm going to get to that level. And then when I get to that level, I hope someone who's I've helped up go away going, you know what, if Craig can do it, I can do it. And that's the biggest thing. It's been able to inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, that's it. It's when you travel around the world, you realise these people are no different than us.
I know.
And it's just a little bit, you've got to pop your head up just a touch, and it's there, you know, so.
I know. And it's the same way it goes to, I know I keep chatting here, but it's like, get back to LinkedIn, right? And I like when you see people who are working with these big brands who maybe it's the decision makers and stuff, like, see, at the end of the day, they're just a human being, and you can connect with them on a human level and just say hello and just start a connection. Like the amount of times that people who work for these big brands go, you know what? Not many people reach out to me just to connect and say hello. Like all they want is work. They come full force on them, but it's all about building relationships and getting to know someone. And then when you break down those barriers, they're not any different from me or you. Just exactly. So that's what it's all about. It's that human connection and building relationships. And I think if we can keep doing that, and
I'll tell you a funny story, Craig. I'll tell you a funny story because you were saying about this human connection thing, and when Made Brave was just growing in the first couple of years, and it was getting kind of big, and I was getting all these big brands coming to me. I got interviewed, so a big paper in Scotland came and interviewed me. It was my first interview, and I was so nervous, right? You know, and you're trying to watch all the words that are coming out of your mouth, and you're trying to think, and they said, Andrew, they sort of finished the interview. And he popped his head back in the door. He said, I forgot to ask you one question. He said, how do you get all these big brands? And I said to him, well, and I didn't think this was part of the interview, right? This was me. And I said, well, they're just human beings like you or me. They all go home at night, they tuck themselves up in bed, and they eat digestive biscuits. And I was just saying to him, I was like, they're just like normal folk eating digestive biscuits. And literally, the headline was, Andrew Dobie reveals the secret sauce on how to work with big brands or something. They all go home at night, tuck themselves up in bed, and eat digestive biscuits.
No way.
And I was like, I'm taking that. That's it. I'm taking it, you know. So
exactly, but it's true. It's true, and like I always, one thing that's always worked for me, and I hope this can be a helpful tip for anyone who's looking to, whether it's a big brand, small brand, or whoever, like. As soon as I get any kind of nibble or a bite of a potential opportunity, like especially if it's in London, I will be there. I will get a flight and I'll go meet them face to face. It's nice to have the pleasantries on an email, but I know if I get in a room with this person and meet them face to face, half the battle's done. And I've been doing that for all my career. And even if it's took me, I've actually done it to this. I went over to New York and done the exact same. Spent all my money to get myself there, and I was literally living on nothing to get over there. And just to meet people face to face and see, because of that, I got everything back in tenfold. I honestly have over the years. It's still happening right now. All those connections and meeting people face to face. And now that we can do it, like, go grasp that opportunity. Go meet someone for a coffee. Like, go find out who they are, what they're like as a person. And that is the catalyst for everything that's happened for me is because of that. But people don't realise that. They think it's just a nice piece of content you put online and it just generates the work. There's so much happens behind the scenes that you need to make happen. And that is the thing. You've got to grind to make it happen and build these connection relationships. Because once you start the relationship, and I'm sure you're the same, Andrew, that go, oh, maybe it's not the right opportunity for me, but my pal over here works for this brand and he's needing this agency to do the branding. And you're like, bingo, there you go. And they recommend you on because of word of mouth, and they say, Andrew's a top fella. Let's get him because he's a good guy. The amount of times that I hear that from people want to work with me because I'm a good person.
Yeah.
The second part to that is the
work is only half the part. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's underutilized personally. And I'm hoping these guys are golden nuggets for these viewers to take that on board and utilize it themselves.
Great. Well, that feels like a very nice moment to end the show today. So
is that us?
That's us. We've been here for 6 hours. No, we're bang on time. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute delight. You can clearly see why you're successful and why you're going to continue to get even more successful. So I just want to congratulate you and the whole family on the success. And I look forward to watching more of the journey as it unfolds for us all. Where can people find you, Craig, online? Where do we want to point them?
You can go to my website, which is www.craig.black. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you type in Craig Black, I should be the top guy, I think, on the list. The top Craig Black. You can find me on social media at _Craig Black, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. I'm more prominent on LinkedIn, so if you're listening, please connect. Send me a message. I'd love to speak to you. I'd love to get to know you all. But yeah, I've absolutely loved this. Obviously, I've chatted loads. Did you ask a question?
Great.
I don't even know if you even asked a question. I just kept rambling on.
Oh, no, listen, I could literally sit here for the rest of the day and chat to you. I've got about another 40 questions on here, but I'm also conscious that you've got work ahead of you. And we'll maybe get you on for a second episode.
Brilliant. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Craig, thanks so much.
Thanks again.